Discovering how to radically relearn how to learn from new and unfamiliar places has become one of the most powerful new skills that any leader can master. Although many organizations wait until something is broken to implement deep, real change, truly visionary leaders seek out and find bold new kinds of tools and methods for leading into the future, knowing that often the most surprising metaphors for growth and innovation do not come from the business world. These powerful metaphors and new learning practices can actually create the most effective shared understanding, which inspires new possibilities for the future.
We get our global leaders together twice a year. In March, we develop and update our business strategies. And in September, we try to talk about how better ways to execute the strategies. Bill was chosen to be the leader. He put together a team. He sat down with me after a couple of weeks and said, we want to do something very different.
We did set the room up a little differently this year. We're trying some new things. There's going to be some changes, some things that maybe are a little unusual. This is outside of my normal realm. I told somebody it's easier to build a factory than it is to go through something like this.
He brought John Earhart and Ken Kazicki. And these are three of the most technically competent, process-oriented, button-down guys in the company. And they're telling me, Pete, we just need to get people to open up their right brains, and what the heck is going on here?
The bigger challenge is that the values of these different cultures are different. They don't speak out because they fear that there will be a significant risk for their personal career.
One of the biggest challenges is that our markets are changing much more quickly than they've ever changed before. We can intellectualize it, but most of us don't really know how to do it.
Most of the people said, I'm with Rogers since 25 years. And that's sending a strong message. If you are not at least 10 years with Rogers, they tend to apologize. Sorry, I'm only 5 years at Rogers, but my opinion is.
China is a hierarchy society, and the people believe the leader as they got to know everything, and they got to have the answers for every questions. And the leaders believe that way, so that they tend to, including myself, tend to tell people what to do.
We want to inspire you as a leader to reset and reimagine.
We are very, very strong left brain. We have data, processes, procedures, review formats, forums where we can exchange these ideas. But in order to continue to grow and be successful, we need to augment all of that with the right brain.
It'll be new for us, different for us, more discomfort, but potentially, more gain. That's when you learn the most.
Ultimately, what is it that makes somebody make a choice to do something that they're afraid to do? They're uncomfortable. It's different for them. We all have that.
I think it's a very perfect time to do it. I like that very much. Let's be experts of integration. Let's change.
I think the real metric, if this is working or not, is if people walk away and without them really knowing it, subconsciously, unconsciously, it's just popping up all the time in their daily life.
We're going to get you into executing those things and get you working on those things, because that's what we as leaders do. We get things done.
This is the first time that we're going to challenge the fact that just being data-driven will not necessarily allow you to grow. It will allow you to grow at a certain pace in a certain way, but it won't let you reinvent yourselves as a company.
A home run would be we're sitting around on Friday or Thursday, after it's over and saying, gee, I have something new I'm going to try, something new I'm going to do, something I'm going to say to my group that I never said before, or a way I'm going to act that I never acted before because I didn't think it was the right thing to do. I feel like I have the freedom to be a little different, and I think it's going to add value.
Sending messages, we want people being open-minded, willing and able to change, unlearn the past. These are messages the top management, from my perspective, has to send. And I would say that's one of the bigger hurdles at Rogers. But I also said to the people, you also can send the message and management will follow.
The power of pull is to inspire people. How to inspire my new team members to do more. The leader cannot give the answers to everything, but can create a vision together with the team and unleash all the potentials from the team members and then get things done right.
Now that we have been exposed to this, so we weren't exposed to it, we didn't know what we didn't have. And now that we're exposed to it, if you take it away, then there's a void. We were enlightened, awakened, and then if we don't use it, we're going back into the dark. That is why I think it's so important that we have to sustain this.
You found a way, and that's what leaders do. They find a way to make things happen.
The tell is going to be what happens next, because I think we definitely have people on board. I think the thinking is there. I think it was always there, just we thought it was always there in their committee, but we needed to bring it out. So I think it's been brought out.
I think a lot of that real true culture comes from everyone, not just from the 12 ELT members or the 120 managers that were sitting here. Culture comes from the entire organization and community. So to really get that seed change and that true transformational change, it has to come from all levels. And it's up to us to start planting those seeds to make that change happen.
I'd like to challenge some of you to step up and say, okay, here's the one thing I'm going to take away from today.
Usually when you're in conferences like this, you're like, all right, what's next? Let's get this over with. Let's get going. People said, do we have another half hour? Can we take some more time? We want to hear more of this. That never happens in conferences.
Surf's up. The question is, how many people are going to grab a board and come running? But absolutely, the seed has been planted, and we'll see how it goes. And I think Pete touched on it well, that the timing was perfect, whether we knew it or not.
I can now admit that this was really going to do what we wanted it to do, that it was really going to create the beginning of a transformation of leadership at Rogers.
Seeing where our group started, not very outgoing, don't usually show their feelings or things like that, and you couldn't pull the microphone away from people. They were just, it was coming out of them.
Usually when you have breakouts and you have people come and say, table one, who's going to report? And everybody's fighting to not touch the microphone. We had volunteers and lots of them.
We ask employees, don't fear to make change and take risks.
When the group started to see all levels of leadership raise their hand and give an example and how this tied to them, all of a sudden it was like a network of electrons flowing through, and it just started connecting everybody.
Reverse mentoring. There's a lot of ideas in the organization we have to tap into.
We couldn't script it any better. People got a lot out of it, and I think as a group, I think as a whole, we expected to see some engagement, but not to the degree that we saw.
They were inspired by what they saw, they had thoughts about it, they talked about how it would apply to their own lives, they talked about how it would apply to Rogers.
Taking it to the next level, really. I mean, not only making space for myself, but what sort of things are we as a management team encouraging our employees?
When 30 people this afternoon started telling their stories and what they were going to take back, all of them were using some phrase or a piece of a personal story. That's not normal for us to be that open.
The last 2 days, I feel it's really a global leadership team.
They connected with what they saw. It spoke to them as people, and they were actually in an area that they are now comfortable, and maybe for the first time in this bigger group, comfortable sharing that. It was huge.